Hi guys, so I just put out the comprehensive artifact guide. But one of the things that I know a lot of people are gonna be asking about and wondering about is, well, which one should you build? I gave you the different options. I gave you which ones I think are the best in slot for the different things. But are some of them actually better than others? And the answer is very simple, yes. And they're not just better, they are game changing. And we are going to take a look at the numbers in this video, and it is pretty significant. This one will change gearing in BDO forever. Today, what we're going to take a look at is the actual value and power between the offensive versions and the defensive versions. Like, which one should you build? Which one is actually the best one? And the way I'm going to illustrate this is by comparing them in stat value. So the two we're going to look for today is the ones I'm using in my best in slot list. You should check out my video. Link is going to be in the description. And we're going to use this one here, the best in slot survivability option and the best in slot damage option. Now these here are super strong for both PvE and PvP. The advantage of a PvP version is that it works in PvE as well, and it makes it a lot easier for what I'm about to show you guys. Because these stats here, again, are all around stats, so we can simulate these stats with our gearing. And we're going to compare just how powerful and how valuable are these combos versus each other. So the gear setup I have planned right here is somebody coming straight out of season. I gave them a double pin Kaposha, maybe they played a previous season, but all in all, this gear is basically your pin to Valor gear right out of season turned into your Tet boss gear. And with this gear, I'm going to compare the value with the defensive version versus the offensive version of the combo in your artifacts. And just how much value do they bring? For this one here, this is the defensive version. And as you'll see, I used, as you can see, I used a random artifact. The reason for that is the artifacts don't matter. It doesn't matter what artifacts you're using for the offensive or defensive version. So you could use the same artifacts, hence the stats from the artifacts would be the same. So we are only comparing the Lightstone setup, the combo we are looking for in this here. So we're going to compare this one here. This is the same gear, but using the defensive combo. Now, if I were to get the same survivability in gearing, it would be a pin item C9. The difference in these two setups right here, it's none. It is almost identical survivability. So for somebody coming out of season, getting the defensive best in slot combo is the same as getting a full pin C9 item. That is pretty massive. Not only does this allow you to gain a lot of benefit instantly, but it also allows you instant access to in-game grinding. You can literally go from season to Elvia Realm grinding. So you get a lot of benefit out of the survival one. It will allow you to go to grind spots that are more beneficial for more silver power in the long run as well. However, what about the offensive one? If the defensive one is this good and gives you this much value at this gear, the offensive one gotta be crazy, right? Well, let's take a look. This right here is the offensive version setup. Now, if I were to take the same stats and translate this into gear, what it would look like is this. Over here, I did sort of cheat. I'm using this item here, which is a quest item that we will get with the new region. And the reason I did this is, you'll see it in a bit. I thought it was way overkill to use a Tet Dawn Earring because it would be more accuracy, but you'll see in the stats here as well. So if we compare these, here, you can see over on the AP 401 with the artifacts, the total. but we're all the way up to 412. So it's already 11 more AP. There was no other way I could do this. I would have to go down and lose an AP bracket, and then I would go below. So I figured might as well give you the best case scenario for the comparison. And just wait, it's gonna be pretty crazy in a bit. So the difference here is actually with this setup, without using the artifacts, but in the equivalent in gear, you actually get more AP, and you also get a bit more accuracy. Now, where this gets interesting is if we're looking at the silver value in the gear in comparison. So if we take a look at here, if I were to make the equivalent setup with my gear as the damage artifacts, how much silver would it cost me from my initial start point? So I'm gonna go over here and I'll take a look. My total gear coming off season is 13 billion silver. If I were to make my offensive setup, my gear would be worth 19 billion silver. So those offensive artifacts for somebody coming out of season is worth around 6 billion silver. That is a lot. That is a lot of instant power. But how much is the defensive version worth? Again, the starting point here is 13 billion silver in gear. If I were to get the equivalent as the defensive combo in gear, it would be 27 billion silver. 27 billion silver in stat value from somebody coming out of season going defensive artifacts, or 6 billion silver going offensive. That is the difference in stat value. This right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a game changer. Now, not only that, what does that actually look like if you convert those numbers into the equivalent stats? Well, if I were to take the same amount of silver value as my offensive artifacts and put it into my defensive setting, it would be like getting C3 armor on 2 pieces and C4. That is the equivalent value in defensive stats compared to the offensive value of the artifacts. Now, if we do it the other way around, the equivalent value of the defensive artifact put into offensive gear, it brings us to a whopping 273 AP with 10 black stars. The difference is insane. However, there is more. Over here, we are taking a look at a bit more in-game builds. So this was somebody coming right out of season, and the amount of value they were getting. It was 6 billion in value for your offensive, or 27 for the defensive version. Now, if we're already full pin C4, this setup right here, I think this is a very balanced setup. I think a lot of people are going to be around this gear level here, looking to grind for the artifacts. You got the Kaposia staff, you have full C4 pin, you got pin weapons and everything, 273 AP. Now, if you were to, on this gear right here, get the same survivability value as the artifacts would give you, it would be the same as getting 3 C9 armors. If you were to do it, again, the same starting gear, and then take the same stats as you would from the offensive, this would be your gear. You're getting the enchants here, right? You're getting some accuracy and everything. This is roughly the same stats as the offensive artifacts. And again, we can go and take a look at the value. Now, this was the same starting point in value. The defensive setup has a value of 134 billion silver. The offensive value is only 113 billion silver. So if this is your starting point, the silver value of the defensive artifacts is 21 billion silver more than it would be in your offensive artifacts. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, it means that if you make a setup that has the same silver cost, the same silver value, and have the same survivability, you will have different outcomes. So you might be like, well, I wanted to go more offensive, sure. But if you use the same amount of silver in your gear and allocate it differently, you will get drastically different results. Now, to really drive this home, I made in-game setups. It gets even crazier. When we're talking this type of gear, again, these two builds here have the same survivability. We're talking C20 armors. This is full in-game. C20 armors. The value down here is 374 billion. Now the silver value on these two is the same. So I'll show you here, 373, 373. These two builds have the same silver value. And I'll show you the defensive stats as well. Same survivability. We're talking C20 armors with offensive artifacts. 289 AP. Now, what would that equate to using the defensive artifacts? I hope you guys are ready for this. Instead of 3 C20 pin armors, I'm using 3 C9 pin armors. And I'm 301 AP. On top of that, I even get to put in Garmoth Heart on my Awakening Weapon and my offhand. These two Garmoth Hearts are not included in this version over here. So if I were putting gems into this, the stats would be even more inflated. But don't take my word for it, let's actually take a look at the stats difference between these two builds. We saw the silver cost identical. Let's take a look. This one over here, same silver value, 524 Awakening AP. This one over here, 547. And remember, this is using the defensive artifacts. The value you can get elsewhere is insurmountable. So, lots more AP, accuracy 763 versus 764. So the difference is 1 accuracy, and from 524 to 546, that is 23 more AP using the defensive artifacts and using your silver on damage instead. You're also getting a double Garmoth Hearts, and you're getting a Black Star main hand. You're also getting, on top of that, you're getting enchants on your builds. Like, the difference is crazy. So what should you build? Well, eventually, it's up to you. But in the beginning, I would 100% advise every single player in BDO to focus on the defensive artifacts first. Eventually, you will of course want several sets, several setups, and several combos, so you can switch them out for whatever you need. Because maybe you don't need to go and get C20 armors. Maybe you're gonna be fine using the C9 armors, the more money into AP, and then also using your AP artifacts. But in the beginning, the best bang for your bucks, I think I've shown, is the defensive ones. Now, if we're looking at the defensive, I've been saying all the way through that these different builds that we're comparing, they are the same survivability. But let's actually take a look at the difference, because obviously there's a DP difference. And with the DP, we are of course losing some damage reduction. However, let's actually look at the stats behind the number of DP. So between these two builds, the C20 armors with the offensive artifacts and the C9 armors with the defensive artifacts, the difference in DP is 3 brackets. That is 3% damage reduction. However, if we go down here and we look at total damage reduction, the total damage reduction with the C20 armor is 346. With C9, it's 355. So yes, there is the DP difference, but you're getting way more DR. So you are getting some more damage reduction. On top of that, let's take a look at the evasion. With the C20 armor, the total evasion is 556. With the artifacts, same cost in gearing, it is 575. Now, this is the same if you're a DR build or evasion build. A DR build wouldn't benefit from the evasion in PvP, but you would benefit in PvE. However, an evasion build would benefit from this. So this difference is even more pronounced in an evasion build. If you were an evasion player, then this setup here with C9 armors is more tanky than full C20. And just for good measures, let's take a look at the HP as well. We'll go up here and we'll see total HP, 1955 with C20, 1975 with the C9 and the artifacts. So also 20 more HP with that setup. Guys, I hope you found this helpful and interesting as I did when I stumbled across these numbers. I do want to make like a final point. Of course, you don't always need the defense, right? So if you're in a position where you are fine doing what you're doing in survivability, let's say you're grinding orcs already and you're making the best money, then maybe getting the damage is of course going to be more beneficial in that situation. But you cannot ignore the total value of the stats on these items. So if you have say 100 billion silver and you're looking to put them into the most efficient balanced setup, the answer is always going to be defensive artifacts and then load more towards AP in your gearing. And of course, if you have any questions, drop a comment down below or come ask me live whenever I'm streaming. I stream several times a week at twitch.tv/Biceptimusprime. I'll see you in the next one. So I pour up inside my cup and I just sip till I can't feel it. I know it won't solve my problem, but I know it makes a difference. One more sip and I'ma fix it. Out my body when I'm